You ready? Hey, how you doing? This is Brad from Brad's Transmissions. In our part 4 here, in our last part, we're going to show you how to get the rest of the transmission back together. Now, if you watch part 3, you saw that I pulled the threads out of the case. In the beginning here, I'm going to show you how to repair the threads so you can have brand new threads in it to actually bolt your pump back down in there. It's a pretty easy way to repair it. It's helicoil, so you can get in there and put brand new threads in it. Don't forget to like and subscribe this, and let's get on with the video. Thanks. Okay, when doing helicoils or thread repair kits, what you want to do is, they have instructions on the back of the kits. This is a 5/16 by 18. That's what size these threads are. What you need to do is drill out each bolt hole that's stripped, and I'm going to end up doing all of them just because. I'll drill it out to a 21/64. What I'm going to do is put a little cutting oil down each bolt hole. Alrighty, and then what I'm going to do is you got to hold this as straight up and down as you can and slowly drill these out so you can re-tap it for the inserts. Want to make sure you get it deep enough, but not drill too deep because you'll keep on going all the way through and you'll cause damage. So okay, I'll get the rest of these drilled out. Now, as you can see, I've got them all drilled out. I'm going to clean all this debris up, and then we'll show you how to get them tapped down. As you can see, I've got them all cleaned up. Got all the shavings cleaned up out of here. Need to put a rag down here again to protect all of this. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tap our holes out. We're going to use the tap that came in the kit. You get the kit, you'll get some inserts, and you'll get the install tool with the kit. Like I said, this is a 5/16 by 18. I have a tap holder. You might have to use something else, but I've got a tap holder and I can use my speed handle to get it in. I'll do one of them. Just like when you drill it, you want to put some lube on here. If you don't, you will cause damage to your tap. So you get on here and you slowly tap this out. Like that. Take it out. Now what I've done is I've made threads in there so I can stick this insert inside of there, and then I'll have new threads to the same size for my original bolts. So what I'll do is I'll clean up my bit and I'll tap each one of these, and then we'll put the inserts in. Okay, now that I've got these all tapped out, what I need to do is I need to clean it out. I want to get all the debris out of each hole. So there's nothing inside of it. And what I'm going to do is use brake clean. You can get a can of brake clean anywhere. I have this Sure Shot full of brake clean, so I'm going to lay it on its back and we're going to get all the debris out of there so we can put the inserts in. So I'll lay this down. And I will sit and clean each of the holes out, making sure I get all the debris out of the transmission. You don't want any aluminum left inside. Alrighty. And we'll blow it out with air. Okay, now with it all cleaned out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put inserts in it, and we'll take my insert and we'll screw it on the installer. And you want to take it down, you want to take it down to the little tang catches on the bottom of the installer to hold it, to help screw it into the case. Next, I want to put a little bit of Loctite. This is a Loctite stick. I'm going to put just a little bit of sealant on there, of Loctite on there, because I want this insert to stay in the threads. I don't want it to move. So we'll put this, we'll hold it straight up and down, and we'll just screw this all the way down. I'm going to get a close-up here so I can show you how far down you need to take this. As you can see the top of the thread there. What you want to do is you want to take that about one turn below the top of your edge here. You want it down one turn. So if I take my tool out, you'll see my thread is just about one thread down than it should be. We'll wipe this off, and then we'll do the rest. Now, the most important thing you need to understand is, see if I can show you this. On the bottom side of these, you have this little tang. Well, and that's the tang that gets locked onto your tool to help push it down. A lot of people forget to do this, which is the most important thing, is you got to break that tang out. If you look on here, there's a little notch. What that does is it makes it break away. So let me grab a punch and we'll break that away. Okay, with a 1/4 inch punch, well, since I'm doing the 5/16, I got a 1/4 inch punch. We'll put the punch right in there and we'll tap it. What that does is it breaks that tang off. And if you don't do that, what's going to happen is when you put your bolt in, it's going to hit the bottom of that thread or that thing, and what it's going to do is it's going to push that thread out of the way, and it's going to damage these threads and damage the hole that you're in. So you got to make sure you take this tang out after you've done helicoils. Now that that's in, what I'm going to do is put the rest of them in. We'll back out here. I'll get the rest of them put in, and then we'll go get everything back together. With everything, all the inserts put in, and I've knocked out all the little installation pins off of them, we're ready to go back together. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hurry and stack it. You've seen me stack it already, so I'm just going to hurry and put it back together. And then we'll get the pump in, which where we left off, because that's where it's stripped out. So I'll hurry and get this all put back together fast. Everything's still nice and lubed. As you can see, when you're putting it together quickly for building purposes, it really doesn't take that long. It takes a lot longer to teach somebody how to do it and film it than it does to actually physically just do it. Come on, fingers. Nice Crolene stills and red line clutches. Last one in, remember our cushion plate that you have to have in there. And since I've cleaned it all off, now all my lube and my retaining gel's gone, so we'll put a little bit more down to hold the gasket in place and to install our pump. So we'll get this lined up. And then we'll get our pump in, just like so. Get 2 of our bolts in, make sure we're straight. Going nice and easy with new threads. Oh, I lost a washer. Let me go get a washer. Went and found another washer. Get that down. We'll get a hammer. I've moved all my tools. Remember, we'll tap this down. And again, I'll take my gun, I got it set on 1, so there's no pressure behind it. And I'll hurry and just put these down. Alrighty. What we'll do is we'll set our torque gauge, it says to 20 foot-pounds. And get our socket. 20 foot-pounds isn't a lot, but now we know we won't pull threads out. There we go. And we'll just go around in a crisscross pattern like you're doing a tire change. Keep on going. And what I'll do after I've done the first pass, I'm going to do a second pass and double check to make sure they're all tight. Okay, again I'll start here and just kind of go around and make sure they're all to specs. Awesome, now we got our pump in. We'll want to make sure the input shaft turns. Oh. You have an arthritis, Mike, I can't grab it anymore, but you can see how easy that turns. And I've got maybe 3/1000 clearance in the pump. I'm lifting up on it. So we're good there. What we're going to do is roll it on its back and put the valve body on. Now that I've got it on its back, what we're going to do is we're going to put the manual linkage in. First we want to put the seal in it. What you want to do is most likely find a socket that actually fits the outside of it, which you can just use to tap in and go right on the side. It's a little low for you. Tilt this down just a little bit for a second. Oop. Big shift. So we just take a socket and we'll tap this right on the side like that. You don't want to hit it too hard. These seals will bend. Next we want to take our shaft, and this side goes in with the little knob. We're going to put a little lube on that so it doesn't go through your seal dry, because it will rip up the seal, so you got to be very careful about that. Then we've got our park rod and our rooster. The hole goes inside towards the valve body, and the rod goes to the outside. We'll get this like that. Oh. Or did I get it back? I got it backwards. How's that? See what happens? Rod goes this way. Just barely start this through. Then you should be able to get your little nut to go on here. And we'll get this started. Get this tightened up. This one's 11/16. They're usually 5/8 or 9/16. This happens to be a little bit bigger. Let's see if we can get this tightened a little bit better. Nice and tight. Now after that, you don't want it to go in and out. And we took off this little retainer here. And this just goes between the case and the rooster comb. Push that down on there. If we can get it to go. Yeah. Okay. Now we'll put the parking on the back of it. And where is that retainer? Okay. There's that retainer. And then a lot of the times, these are different bolts. They've got a bigger head on them than your half-headed bolts, half-inch headed bolts here. These are 9/16. So what we'll do is we'll get these on here. We're going to get this down and we're going to torque these to the same as the pump. We're going to torque these to 20 foot-pounds. So I don't drop my socket. Get that torqued to 20. 20. Alrighty. Next, we need to put our servo in here. Well, let me move the camera again. All right, next we're going to get our servo put in here. We have that servo, spring, the pin, and remember we had that little bit of washer. Put that right there. We had that small washer. I want to take a little bit of lube the inside of this. Have a spring and this little cover. If you look at it, the little bump goes towards the case, so it holds the spring, in. Okay. Then our pin goes in, and then our little metal washer goes on top of that. In your kit, you're going to have some sealing rings, which will, like I showed you on the pump, they interlock. Unless your kit has Teflon. Some of the kits come with Teflon rings, and you'll be putting Teflon rings back on it. What you'll do is you'll put the Teflon ring on, and you want to hold it really, really tight for a little bit to try to size that ring up to fit in the hole. Now, if you look at it, you can see right here the indentation marks of this washer, and it doesn't have one on this side. So this goes towards the case, and you want to take that and just kind of like work it around. Once in a while, takes the little screwdriver and tap it back and forth. Right there. Ah, we got that in. Next, we're going to put our check balls in. There was 4 of them. 1, 2, where'd the third? 3, 4. If you're doing a shift kit and they tell you to leave one out, then I suggest doing exactly what they say, leave it out in the shift kit. But we're putting all the check balls in here. If you leave a check ball out, it's really going to shift extremely hard. So that's kind of up to you. You can always, if you don't like it, you can always pull your valve body off in the car, put the check ball back in it, and put the plate back on. A little bit more work, but that's up to you. Now we've got our gaskets, and we'll put those on. Okay, just before we put our gaskets, we want to double check everything. And there is a filter that goes right here that comes in your kit that I almost forgot. One right here. This one will look like that. And then there's another filter that goes right down here. This is for the governor. What it does is it filters the fluid before it goes to your governor so it won't get it stuck. You can push that in as far as you can with your fingers, then maybe just push it in a little bit with the screwdriver, and it just sits just like that. Now get your gasket, then your metal spacer plate. Now if you remember, mine's got this extra plate on it. Your gasket will be all the way up here. This one's a little different. It has a separate gasket for that. So what I'm going to do is put this like here. I'm going to put this gasket up top. And I'll put our plate on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all these bolts in here. We're going to start all of these, and that'll help align this plate up. You don't want to tighten any of these down. You want to get them all on first. Did I miss one? There we go. Now that I've got all of these started, to keep this gasket from moving around while we're putting our valve body on, I'm going to take some more of that assembly lube and just kind of like put a little bit around here. What that's going to do is going to help this hold the gasket in place while I put the valve body on. Now if you look, this one, the holes are a little bit smaller. So what that does, those are the two you want to put in to align the bolt. But we'll get them all in, but knowing that this one and this one are smaller. So you need to watch that. We'll take our little S hook here for a manual valve. We'll put that in here. Put this down a little bit more, then this will actually go over the top of that. Can we get the valve body? Okay, now that we've got our valve body, put our manual valve in, and it only has one hole, so you can't get this messed up. Stick your little S valve in there, or S clip in there to hold this, and set this down. Get your gasket lined up. Remember, this one and this one is the alignment hole, so we want to start these two bolts first. Start this one back here and get it to go in. And this one right up there. Okay, now I've got these in. I'm going to put all my other ones on. And remember, right here, this is the little detent holder for the rooster comb. Now I'll get all the rest of the bolts in. Okay, with all the bolts in, I'm going to take my little screwdriver here. Remember, I got it set on 1, so it's not really going to put a lot of pressure on this. And I'll just start all these bolts. We'll get all these bolts down, and then we'll torque them to specs, which is about 130 inch-pounds. I can't really get to this one yet, but I'm going to wait till I get all these tight, and at the last I'll pull this over and do that end one. So you want to take your torque wrench and you want to set it to 130. To 130, just like so. And what we're going to do is we're going to start in the center, and you're going to work our way out because we want to put it in the center and then work out so it spreads evenly. So, just like so. Work our way around. It's always good to go in a sweeping rotational circle as you tighten these from the inside out. That way everything gets nice and even as you tighten it down. Because if you started here and here and here and here and then went to the center, you could get a little bow in the center of this. We'll get the rest of these all tightened up. I missed this one. Oops. Now we'll pull this all the way forward. Now I can get to this bolt. And we'll torque that. Okay, now after you're done with that, what I want you to do is I want you to put the manual valve into drive, which is that one. So if you start at the very, very top, okay, there's park. Okay, reverse, first one's reverse, neutral, drive. Now if you look right back here, and I'll get a close-up of this, you can barely see the valve, and that's exactly how you want that manual valve to set. See, that's exactly what you want to see right here, is that manual valve is barely poking out of the back side of that. If it's pulling out too far out, or if it's in too far, what you'll have to do, let me turn this a little bit. What you'll have to do is you'll have to either spread this apart, you can get a screwdriver in here, spread this apart to move the valve that way, or what you want to do is take a pair of pliers and crimp it in to adjust it so it's just sticking just a little bit out of there. A lot of problems is because a lot of people have problems because this manual valve is not properly adjusted. So let's make sure you get that. With the manual valve done, what we're going to do is we're going to put our filter on. You got to make sure you put a gasket on there. It comes with this gasket. Put a little stuff down here to hold it in place. It only goes on one direction. And same with the filter, it only goes on one direction. A long time ago, they used to put front, so you could just bolt it right on so you know exactly what it is. But if you look, this bolt hole is farther away, just like that. So we're gonna put that just like so, because you don't want to put it on backwards because you're not gonna get very good flow out of it. And we're gonna put our two bolts in. Well, sometimes these are, I probably mentioned this when I was taking it apart, these are actually just flat-headed screwdriver bolts, not an actual hexagon bolt. This is a 3/8, and we will torque these down as well. Wow. All right. Now, right before we get the pan on, we need to get our kickdown lever on. We have our rod, our retainer, and then our mechanism that actually pulls it down for kickdown. Best way to do this is this sits in this position. See if I can get a close-up so you can see. Okay, with the close-up here, we've got our little retainer here. If you see this little knob here, this goes up top, okay? because as you pull it, it's going to go all around. You can get my hands out of the way. It'll go around and push our little valve in, okay? So we're going to hold this way. We're going to take our kickdown rod here that goes through the case. So you can put your cable on it. And with it like this, you need to go this direction to put it on. See if I can get it to focus in. It's not going to focus. Come on. Okay. Kind of see how that goes like this. We'll put that through there. We'll hold that in place. Okay, we'll take our pin and put it here and get it through the top hole and get it through that piece. And we'll go all the way down, line it up there. It's got to be on the outside. Just like that. And then push it through. See how that's up here and it's held in position. Just like that. Now your kickdown's installed. We'll back out. Last but not least, get our pan on, get our gasket on. Wrong direction, only goes on one way. I would make sure you have one of these fiber gaskets. The cork ones, all they're going to do is leak. 350s love to leak no matter what. No matter how much you try to get them to stop leaking, they usually always leak. But if you put a gasket on here, make sure it's not cork. And for no reason at all, any reason at all, don't ever put silicone on either side of the gasket. It will make it leak worse. So make sure you get your fiber pan gasket. Let me grab the pan. Okay, with the pan here, remember, this one actually had a magnet. They usually do not have magnets in 350s. But this one did. So we'll put the pan or the magnet with that. We'll set our pan on. We'll get all of our bolts in and we're going to torque them to 30 inch-pounds of torque, just like the valve body. I'll hurry and get these in. And again, this is set on 1, so it's not going to put any pressure on it. We'll just hurry and put these down. We'll grab our torque wrench. And we will torque these to 120 inch-pounds of torque. This will almost ensure that you don't get a leak. They'll probably come loose after a little while. They usually do, especially in performance vehicles because they vibrate so much. So no matter what, you might have to get under here and check your pan gasket every month or so. Depends how much you drive your car. But get these torqued down to 120 inch-pounds. All right, that's it for that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off my bench, I'll spin it around, and we'll get on the bench and put the rest of it together. Alrighty, now that I've got this up on the bench, what I'm going to do is show you how to put the governor in, the stereo or the speedo, and the accumulator in the side of the house. So let's start with the accumulator. We'll spin it around here and we'll get a closer view and I can show you how to get this in. Okay, with the accumulator, we got accumulator piston. We have our spring, snap ring, and we have the cover. What I want to do is you want to take a little bit of lube. Oh, my light keeps on going out. And you want to lube up the inside of this, like so. Same with the accumulator or the servo and the pump O-rings. Kind of the same thing. These are locking ones. They lock right on the side of it and latch together to hold them in place if I can get my fingers to work. Top one and bottom one, or big one and little, whichever one you want. And like we did on the pump, if you remember, we put the ends of the rings at 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and we went around that way. We want to put these opposite. So I've got one cut there. I'm going to take the other opening and put it on the opposite side. Next, I'm going to grab, I think this is the easiest way to do it. I grab my pliers like this, my snap ring pliers, and I'm able to get hold of the inside of this and just kind of wiggle it around until it goes in like that. Next, you want to take your O-ring, and as you can see, it fits right on the outside, but you don't put it on here. If you look, there's a little lip. I'm going to zoom in here. There's a little lip, and you want to put it in there. So if you look right here, there's a little lip. What you want to do is put your O-ring just like this. Work it all the way around. Make sure it fits all the way, just like that. And once you've got that in, you want to lube it up. And same thing with your cover. You want to make sure it's got a nice lube for that O-ring to slide across. Just like that. Now with that done, we want to get the spring. We want to set the spring in there. We want to take our cover and get it on there. And the best way I've seen to do this is I actually hold the tranny and push it in with a screwdriver. As I hold it in, I can take my snap ring and work it with my fingers in place, just like so. All right, now that that's in, let's go to the back. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put the governor in, our governor assembly. You want to make sure it's not overly scratched, cause damage. Like I said, when we took it apart, they do make kits for this where you can bore it out and put a new sleeve in and put a new, so you save the case, you don't have to buy a new one. You want to make sure you push this in and out. If I remember right, I did this at the beginning. You want to make sure you see that valve go up and down that's in there. Another way you can do it, you can hold both of them closed. You hear it? That valve's moving back and forth. You want to take that Put it right in here. Now, you just put a little lube on this before we go in, just because. Okay, and it bottoms out, the gear bottoms out on a little pin in here. Now that's as far as it goes. We're gonna put a cover on now. Another thing people like to do is they love to put silicone on this. Don't put any silicone on this. Put just this square ring on there and tap it down flush and you won't have any problem with leaks. It's when you put this seal on there and put silicone on there, you're gonna get leaks. So what I do is I get this, set it there, and I take a dead blow, kind of tap the corners. I don't ever want to hit the end of here. After I get that put on there, I'll take a punch. I'll just take a punch in my regular hammer. I'm going to work around all the way around this until it's all the way in and flush. You don't want to hit the end of this because there's an adjustment here. If you look at your valve or your governor here, you can move it back and forth. Now I got about 70, 80 thousandths clearance, which is good. You want your governor to move back and forth a little bit. If it moves back and forth a lot, then you want to tap the end of this to get it so it moves in maybe up and down about maybe 100 thousandths of an inch. But no more than that. And you don't want it tighter than that because it's going to cause problems. All right, I'm going to change camera angles and we'll get our speedometer gear on. All right, you want to turn it around and get the hole so it's facing straight up. Remember we had this little clip here. The little bump, the little bulge goes on the back side of it. And if you want, put a little bit of assembly, kind of hold it in place a little bit, so you like that. Now your gear, it only goes on one way because it has this little notch for this retainer to set in there. You want to put it on there and line it up and get it to go down. Get it to go back. Now what you want to do is you don't want to actually hit a hammer on this gear. You can, if you need to, lightly, as I said, lightly take a punch and a hammer and tap this around. What I have is I've got this shaft out of a Subaru. This is for the converter, which works perfect just like that. And I'll just lightly tap this into place, just like so. Last thing you want to do is break this. They're getting hard to find, but you can find these on eBay. Sometimes you have to buy both sides. They give you a whole bunch of them. Each color is a different tooth count, so just kind of watch what you're doing. Next, we're going to get the tail housing on. With our tail housing, remember we've got new seal and bushing in it already. Take your seal from your kit. It's a big square cut seal. The hole will go down. Okay, it doesn't go sideways this way. It goes down, just like so. We'll take our bolts, get them started. Okay, again, I've got my electric gun here set on 1. We'll get these going. Like this. We'll grab our torque wrench and you set your torque wrench to 35 foot-pounds. 35. Okay, we'll get that. And we'll tighten this to specs. We'll see a lot of people will put this on with a pneumatic gun and they'll over tighten it, which will help on the leaks because what it'll do is it'll actually warp the tail housing a little bit. So it's not good to use a pneumatic gun on that. All right, with that one done, we're going to put our speedometer gear. And, oh, you know what I forgot? Some of them have them, some of them don't. Is they have this little retainer for the governor cover. It goes on top and it just pushes and locks right there on the bottom, just like so. Oh, it didn't stay. Just like that. Next, we're going to put our speedometer in. And now a lot of these will have a seal in here. You've got a little teeny wire ring. And it comes with a seal, okay, flat side, and then this side has two lips. The two lips go towards the bottom of it, because that's what's going to hold the fluid in. And you want to push this all the way down until it stops. Then take your little wire retaining ring and push this down right on top of that seal, if I can get my hands to work. Get that right on top of that seal to put that in place. Now in your kit, there's a seal to fit this. It might be the other one. There's two of them pretty close together. We'll get this down there. Just like that. I'll take a little bit of our lube, put just a teeny bit around this. Same with this. Remember it had silicone when I took it off? Don't put any silicone on this. All it's going to do is make it leak, really. And then I need, where did I set my gear? It rolled out of the way. Take my gear. We'll get a little lube on the end of this from there. And set this in here. And it has this little retainer to hold it in place. Oh, that's that one. What I'm going to do this is probably a 10, huh? It's a 10 millimeter. What I'm going to do is just tighten this down with a wrench, just snug. Put our thing in. Okay, we'll just nice and snug. You don't want to do too much. Okay, last but not least, we have the modulator. You got our modulator valve. We'll put a little bit of ATF on this. Stick our modulator valve in there. Goes in nice and easy. Next we have our modulator. You want to always put a new one on these. These are fairly inexpensive. You need to put a new one on every time. Get that on there like that. You have the retainer. Get it that direction. And same with the speedometer. Yeah, same with the speedometer. I'm just going to take a wrench and snug it down like that. All right, that concludes the build of the 350. I hope this video helped you in building yours if that's what you're doing. Hope it answered any questions that you had if you had problems building yours and didn't know what to do. It's all ready to go back in. About 10 quarts of fluid. You want to put a brand new torque converter in. You never want to use an old one. Put a brand new torque converter. They're really cheap. And hope this is helpful. Remember, hit like and subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.